Hey everybody, it's Allie, and welcome to our Y&R Chat for Sunday, February 2nd, 2020. Well, I could not be more happy to be wrong about something. I thought we were all done seeing Mariah and Tessa's story for a while. And now here we are with more story and some intriguing and surprising story at that. I am a little miffed though at Mr. Tanner Watts picking up Tessa's phone, reading a text message from Mariah, and then responding to it using Tessa's phone, telling Mariah that Tessa was all busy doing a sound check, but that he would pass along her message. Rude. Really rude, really inappropriate, and I thought it was also really ironic that Tanner followed up that text message by using that little cool dude sunglasses emoji at the end of it. It was just ironic because that was so uncool, dude. When Tanner was making his pitch to Tessa, saying that she should go on tour with him, he told her that he had his own girlfriend. He wasn't interested in anything other than a business and artistic relationship with Tessa. And now he's got her all alone on his private jet. There's never anyone else around. Never anyone else on that jet with them. He's doing his own rendition of her song while he's watching her take a nap on the little couch. I don't know. Why was he singing her song? He's into her all of a sudden. He is realizing all of the ways that Tessa is a fascinating woman, and he wants some of it. And then when Tessa was busy learning how to crochet Mariah a lovely new scarf, Tanner was right there watching her and telling her how his girlfriend is nothing like her. His girlfriend is, quote, regular. Okay. I don't think that's fair, Tanner. I just don't think it's fair. You cannot lure Tessa onto this tour acting like you're perfectly happy and your previous marriage to her was no big deal, and then turn around and be making goo-goo eyes at her because your girlfriend is not as cool as she is? No. Hands off. Tessa belongs to Mariah, and you better respect that, young man. Although, here's the good part of the story. Here's the surprising part of the story. We have always, here at Y&R Chat, had this anticipation that Tessa would ultimately be the one to break Mariah's heart, since she's done it so many other times before. But is Y&R about to turn this story on its head and give Mariah a new love interest? Give Mariah some temptation while Tessa is out on tour? On Friday, Mariah was sitting at the Society bar, and as luck would have it, Mariah knows the brand new bartender, Lindsay, because Lindsay also just so happens to be the bartender at Mariah and Tessa's favorite club, the Matchbox. the matchbox. The matchbox! Are you trying to bait me, Y&R? Are you trying to get me to make a joke about this? Because I'm not going to do it. I refuse. I much prefer to hang out at the Muffler anyway. I don't remember Mariah and Abby being friends before. Were they friends before? It seemed almost like it came out of nowhere. I don't remember them having really any previous relationship, but oh well, it was nice to see them together this week. Mariah stops by Society to ask Abby to go clubbing with her. You know, to one of those clubs where all of the ladies would love Chance. As a friend, of course, just as a friend. Nice and subtle, Y&R. You know, one of those clubs, the Matchbox. Why don't they just come out and say that this is a lesbian bar? Why are they beating around the bush like this? I mean, Mariah and Tessa have had love-making scenes. We are in the pool. We might as well start splashing around. Call it a lesbian bar. Call it a gay bar. Let's get there if we're there anyway. I kind of wish we would see the Matchbox. That'd be real bold of them. Can you imagine? Oh, please tell me they're going to do the Matchbox. Oh, well. Hey, Mariah's lonely while Tessa is out and away on world tour. And Mariah feels kind of lame that, you know, her fabulous girlfriend is off on fabulous tour while she's stuck in non-fabulous Genoa City, going to work, coming home from work, probably eating some more of that Chinese food leftovers out of that adorable little vintage yellow refrigerator that they have in the apartment. So Mariah wants to go out. She needs a cohort. So she goes to Society, she asks Abby, and the whole time Mariah is at Society, she has one eye on Abby, but the other eye is on Theo. Theo's at the bar, talking to Lola. Mariah doesn't like it. Mariah is very focused on it. Well, some might say obsessed with it. And yeah, I know, Mariah should mind her own business, no doubt about it. But I also kind of love the rivalry between Mariah and Theo. Probably because they are just two totally different personalities. I can't even imagine two more opposite ends of the spectrum than Mariah and Theo. It seems like they should either be great friends or epic enemies. And right now they are in the enemies category. And it's fun to watch them clash. Theo is so flippant with her, and she is so blunt with him, and she was warning him this week that if he makes any trouble for Kyle and Lola, then she is going to make trouble for him. I don't know. I mean, I'm not denying that Mariah can be a little scary when she wants to be, but I'm not exactly sure what she is going to do to him exactly. I'm not really sure that she can do anything about any of this. She might just need to focus some of those warnings on her best bud, Kyle, because believe it or not, Kyle and Summer were the ones who ended up crossing the line, not Theo. Kyle and Summer are celebrating their San Francisco business deal victory. And after all of the cheers are over, the conversation turns more intimate. There is talk about life and happiness and the past and the future. And tells Kyle that she feels that he's not really happy with his life, despite what he says. Summer tells Kyle that she thinks his marriage to Lola happened way too fast, and frankly, she finds it hard to watch him and all of the ways that he's been changing himself in order to fit her mold, in order to be with her. Bold. Very bold. She's waited a long time of not saying all that. And all of a sudden, this became the opportunity to say all of that. She also said that she thinks that Theo is not the real problem in their marriage at all. That Theo has just become an excuse for Kyle and Lola to argue. Now, I think that's an interesting point, because as far as I can tell, Theo is the only problem in Kyle and Lola's marriage, and in reality, it seems like it would be such an easy problem to fix. Theo really should just be more of a thorn in their side, not a reason to destroy a marriage. Well, Kyle insists to Summer that he is happy. He has what he wants. It's just a little bit of a bump in the road between he and Lola, and he insists that when he gets back to Genoa City from this trip, things are going to be different. He and Lola are going to talk. They're going to work out their troubles. And Summer says, okay. She just wants him to be happy. That's her goal. She wants him to be the happy person that she remembers from when they were kids. And maybe Summer was a little tipsy. Maybe Summer was a little vulnerable. But Summer goes in for the kiss. And he kisses back. Oh yes, that's the interesting part of the story. It was not just Summer kisses him one time and he pulls away and it all ends. No. He kissed her back. It was like 4 or 5 times. It was like 4 or 5 sets of kisses before it paused. And Kyle tells Summer that no, he loves Lola. He and Summer are just friends. Friends. Just friends. They immediately started to scramble. They immediately started to try to sweep it under the rug, pretend it didn't happen, but it happened. And it was more than just a kiss. That's how it seemed to me. It seemed to me that there were some feelings there on both ends. I mean, yes, Summer initiated the kiss, but I don't want Summer to have to take all of the responsibility for this. Kyle let himself lean into that kiss just as much as Summer did. So Kyle doesn't get to pretend that he is above reproach here just because Summer was the one that initiated it and because he's the married one. Back at home, Theo and Lola continue to bond. Theo is talking to Lola about his complicated feelings for Kyle, which Lola seems to accept. Theo tells her that he used to feel like he and Kyle were as close as brothers, but Theo also admits that he has an underlying resentment over Kyle's life of privilege, which again, Lola seems to accept and understand on a certain level. But, of course, Theo is presenting himself as willing to work on the issues that he has with her husband. After all, they're family now. There is no divorcing from each other's lives. Kyle and Theo are family. And that makes Theo and Lola family. But above and beyond that, Theo, interestingly, got Lola to admit this week that they're more than family. They are officially friends. Well, friends are obligated to tell each other important information, right? Friends tell friends when their husbands are playing kissy face with ex-wives, right? Ooh. Kyle and Summer could not help themselves from talking about their secret while they're at work at Jabot late one night with the office door hanging wide open. And of course Theo's gonna overhear it. Of course. Kyle, as soon as he got home, he did try to go to society and he did try to talk to Lola. He wanted to talk to Lola, but to not talk about Summer, of course. Kyle was like, Summer? Summer who? I don't know any Summer. And Lola picked up on how weird that was right away. She knew Kyle was acting a little strange coming home from his business trip. But they both know that they have some issues to work out. And Lola says, you know what? I'm going to take off work early. We're going to go home. We're going to get through this. We're going to straighten out these things that need to be straightened. Well, that was the plan until Lola gets a phone call from Arturo. Apparently, Lola's mom has gotten into a car accident so bad that she broke her ankle. Oh no! Lola certainly can't focus on the problems in her marriage now. Not while Celeste has a broken ankle. It's just too much. So once again, Kyle and Lola's problems seem so minor in the scheme of things, and it seems like they would be so fixable. It's like we're taking a little molehill and we're making it a mountain. But it was Kyle who told Lola to just go back to work. She surely cannot focus while this is going on with her family. She doesn't know what to do, so she just goes back to work. They'll talk later. So Kyle goes back to work too, and of course he bumps into Summer. They start talking about the whole thing. They said, they weren't going to talk about it. And now here they are talking about it with the office door open. And Theo happens upon it. I don't think he heard them saying that they kissed, but I do think he heard them saying that something happened in San Francisco and that it would remain their secret. So I, for one, cannot wait to find out what Theo does with this information. I think this is going to be a very character-defining moment for Theo. What's he gonna do? Although, honestly, I almost wonder if Theo will not have to blow up this secret at all. Maybe Kyle or Summer will end up confessing to Lola about what happened. Kyle was talking to Jack about all of his feelings without revealing the part about kissing Summer, of course. I think Jack saw right through it. I think Jack has been around the block enough times to recognize something in his son that he's seen in himself and in his own life. And I think Jack totally sussed out what had happened. But he tells Kyle to go talk it out with Lola, and maybe that's what Kyle will do. Maybe Kyle will just tell Lola what happened. Or maybe Summer will tell Lola what happened. Summer filled Phyllis in on all of the juicy details of what happened in San Francisco, and Summer also filled Phyllis in on the fact that she would like to declare her intentions to fight for Kyle. Michelle Stafford finally got her opening credit this week as Phyllis. She was looking so soft and so glowing. Jordi Villasuso, Ray, also got his opening credit. I'm still waiting for Michael Mueller to get his credit as Kyle. He's been around a while and hasn't gotten credit. Maybe those are coming next week. Maybe we're going to have some new opening credits in the intros next week. You know, this is totally off topic, but we still have the previews at the beginning of the show for each episode, but I miss the previews for the next episode. Those went away with all of these preemptions. Y&R just decided that, we better not commit to giving the fans the next week on Y&R because we don't know when that's going to be. But I miss those. We get the previews from the past, but we don't get the previews for the future. I miss them. But yes, we got Michelle Stafford, and believe it or not, it's been nearly a year now since we got the news that Gina Tognoni had been let go from Y&R. That was in April. Wow, it's been a year since we learned that Michelle Stafford was coming back as Phyllis. And I've seen a lot of comments this week in particular, but also throughout the course of the past year, that are sort of good about Phyllis and bad about Phyllis and everything in between. And so now that Michelle Stafford is fully entrenched in the show, she's got her title card and all, I'm thinking maybe it's time that we give her an annual performance review. I'm thinking maybe it's time we call Michelle Stafford into our office and close the door and give her her performance review. On a scale of 1 to 5, how would you rate her performance as Phyllis? That is our poll question for this week at yrchat.com. So 1 being terrible, you do not like Michelle Stafford's Phyllis. 5 being excellent, you love Michelle Stafford's Phyllis. And keep in mind that this is not grading the writing. We are grading the actress and her delivery and how you are responding to her iteration of the Phyllis character. I'm really excited to see how that shakes out, because for me it is increasingly hard to stay neutral on this topic. I'm giving Michelle 5s across the board. I mean, I can't help myself. I can't wait to get your opinions, because I started out really not liking the idea of a recast of Phyllis. I loved Gina. I didn't really like Michelle at the end of Michelle's last run, but she totally has turned me around, and she is like tuning me in. Phyllis is one of the big reasons why I'm excited to watch this show right now. But I know not everybody feels that way, so let's see those hard numbers. I think one of the things I really love about Phyllis as a character is that I feel that she has absolutely no qualms about hanging around in a hotel lobby wearing her robe and a towel on her head. I don't think she has any hesitation about it whatsoever, and that takes nerve. Can you imagine sitting around in public in your robe with a towel on your head and choosing to do it, I would be dying. I'd be in the corner dying. Mortified. It's one of the things I love about her. I mean, what is she supposed to do, though, when it all boils down? On the night of her big date with Chancellor, mysteriously, the water in her hotel room suite isn't working. It's almost as if there was someone out there who shut off that water on purpose. Maybe someone who is putting on a very good show about being so secure that Chance is dating other women. In fact, that Chance is dating her rival. Fun. I think that the Abby versus Phyllis rivalry over Chance has been highly entertaining. I thank you, Y&R, because it's been really cool to watch. But I'm also kind of glad that it seems to be over for now. I think this was all making Chance look a little bit less appealing to me. Almost like he didn't mind being a piece of meat that these women were fighting over. And that's a little icky. Early in the week, I was thinking, why is Chance risking the relationship that he has with Abby that he stayed in town for? Why is he risking this relationship to play with fire? Dragon fire! Why? He knows that Phyllis is trying to get the goods on him and Adam and the Vegas secret. And even if Abby told him to go on a date with Phyllis, I would think it would be obvious to anyone with a heart that Abby was secretly wishing that he wouldn't do that. But I don't know, now Chance has made his choice. And it's Abby. Despite Phyllis's very best efforts to leave Chance wanting more, Chance is choosing Abby. And in retrospect, I think that there was always an undertone between Abby and Chance, that the whole Phyllis thing was just a part of their courtship. It was almost as if it was foreplay for them, as if they both knew that they were going to end up together all along. But Abby was testing Chance. She wanted to make him jump through the hoops of dragon fire to make sure that his feelings for her were true and real and lasting, because Abby's been hurt so many times and she feels the need to guard her heart. It's understandable. And it was fun while it lasted. I think the majority of Y&R chatters are probably happy with Chance's choice, because I asked you guys last week if you were rooting for Phyllis to hook, line, and sinker that fish. If you wanted to see Phyllis and Chance hook up, 70% of you said, no way, no thanks. Only 30% of you saying, yes, Phyllis and Chance, bring it on. I can't lie, I was rooting for it. I was in the minority here, especially after that kiss that Phyllis planted on Chance at the end of their date. I thought it was kind of hot. But, you know, Chance and Abby are hot too. Yeah, Chance and Phyllis's date. You know what I liked even more than that kiss, although it was hot? I really liked the fact that Phyllis has been waiting to get Chance all to herself for weeks now. And then the moment finally arrived and Phyllis was willing to eject immediately when she got that text message from Summer saying, I really need to talk. Can you meet with me? I thought that was sweet. That was a neat mom moment, although it was probably also a little bit of strategy. I think Phyllis did not like the fact that Chance was toying with her. Phyllis is used to being the dominant. And Chance was one-upping her a little bit, acting like he was finally going to tell her the secret about Adam and Las Vegas. And then the only secret he ended up revealing was the fact that he and Adam are both apparently really big fans of Wayne Newton. All right. That was funny. And, you know, ultimately the stars were just not going to align for Chance and Phyllis. Chance reveals to Abby that it's Abby he wants. He is all in for Abby. And now Phyllis, it sounds, is not going to be fighting back. She's taking herself out of the race because she has something bigger and more important on her mind now. I will always still be worried about this Y&R executive team overusing the character of Phyllis. That's what turned me off of the Michelle Stafford version in the past. I think that Phyllis's presence, especially with Michelle Stafford, is so powerful and so intense that it can be overbearing. I appreciate Phyllis's concern about Sharon's health, but I also think that Phyllis is prone to finding a way to make things all about her, even if she doesn't mean to. It's just who she is. She's kind of selfish and self-centered. And even when she's trying to be selfless, she still has to let you know that she's being selfless. On Friday, Sharon had her chemotherapy port installed, which is such a strangely mechanical term. It's like you plug your USB into a port. You know, you plug a plug into a port. And now Sharon is plugging this medication into her veins via this port. It's just, I didn't know that's what it was called, and it was a little shocking to me, I guess. Even just the terminology, it seems kind of cold and mechanical. But I'm learning. I mean, it's interesting. I'm learning. I feel like I'm really going through the experience here. Well, Phyllis sees Sharon at the coffee house. She notices that Sharon has this bandage on her chest, and it confirms for Phyllis that something is seriously wrong with Sharon's health. Something's going on with this woman who she's known for decades. So Phyllis takes the information, she goes back to the hotel, and she has this huge reaction with Abby, as if it were about her. I mean, I know that it's not coming from that place in her heart, but she just has this way of making it about her. Even Sharon's family didn't have that big of an outward reaction when they found out about Sharon's health. But, you know, to each their own. One of the things that I've always liked and that I do like about Phyllis and Sharon's relationship, and I think this is going to make for some really good scenes in the future, it's that, like, Phyllis and Sharon have been rivals for decades, but they don't wish each other harm. It's not the same as, for instance, Victor and Jack, where you wholeheartedly believe that one would leave the other one to lie dead on the floor. That there is a maliciousness about the rivalry. That's just not there for Phyllis and Sharon. Phyllis and Sharon's rivalry has mostly always been about Nick. Well, and also the JT murder that they tried to cover up. I mean, Phyllis did rat out the Margarita crew so that she could get immunity for herself. So I guess there's some other bad blood there, I'll admit that. But I still don't think that anyone wished harm on anyone else during all of that. But nevertheless, I am now getting this vision, and this is what is important, my vision that could potentially come to fruition for this story. I'm getting this vision that all of the women in Sharon's life, whether the relationship is good or bad or complicated or whatever it is, I feel like all of the women that Sharon knows are going to come together in support of her. There's going to be a big show of love and camaraderie. I think that the Margarita crew is going to become the Chemo-Rita crew. And it is going to be girl power to the highest degree. You know that ultimately Nikki is going to want to get in on that girl power too. Nikki noticed that Nick has been spending a lot of time at the ranch these days, and she confronts him about it, saying, unless you've been hanging out with the ranch hands or the horses, then I think I know where you've been. I've seen your car parked outside. And she also said, you're lucky I'm not the inquisitive type, or I would be wondering what's going on between you and Sharon. I was dying. That was a nice little scene for Nikki. It was well delivered, and it was just a nice little piece of writing. I enjoyed that very much. Nikki, she was doing her non-inquisition on Nick, and Nick quickly squashed it, and he asked his mom to please don't give Sharon any trouble over it. Nothing's going on, just stay out of her face. And of course Nick knows, and we know, that Sharon has plenty to deal with right now. She doesn't need Nikki up in her face. Nikki, though, at this point does not know that. I'm sure that she soon will figure it out. And I have no doubt that Nikki is going to step up, and she is going to want to spearhead a breast cancer awareness fundraiser or something. Nikki is going to be all over this. She's going to be all on this. And it's going to place Nikki into this beautiful position of being the matriarch of the show and just shepherding the other women through and shepherding Sharon through. It's going to be gorgeous. This is going to be so good. Can't say enough how well I think that Y&R is doing with this breast cancer storyline. And here's another example. At the same time that Nikki and Nick are talking at the ranch, Sharon is at home, and she's rifling through these stacks and stacks of papers, which is such a mundane detail that I know I never would have thought of on my own. I'm sure that when you have breast cancer, you have all of these doctor's appointments, and every single time you leave the doctor's appointment, you get a handful of papers. It's test results and directions and pamphlets, and what are you supposed to do with all of this paper? And so Mariah stops by, and she helps Sharon organize all of these papers into a really nice little binder. And I thought that was some really great attention to detail that Y&R has put out there for this. And Mariah was also being very helpful to Sharon with organizing some of her emotions. Sharon has felt from before the beginning that she did not want to be fussed over. And Nick is a good example of like being famous for fussing. Nick cannot help himself. Nick has been trying to ride into the rescue for Sharon since 1994. And here we are in 2020 and he's still doing it. He stops by her house to give her more papers. I mean, that's what she saw. He had put together a binder of his own that included some suggestions for specialists who might be able to help her and just whatever research he had done. And it was all very well intentioned. We know that his heart was in the right place, but I think Sharon just saw it as, yay, more papers and more fussing. And I know that she was frustrated by that, and I don't blame her. She looked at Nick and she said, Nick, I am happy with my own specialists. Which was her nice way of saying, this is my life, not yours, but out. After Nick left, Sharon did open up to Mariah about her feelings about Nick and just the feeling that he's hovering and he's going overboard. And so smart, sensitive, sweet Mariah hunts down Nick at the bar and finds a very gentle way of telling him to butt out. Sometimes Mariah's nosiness does pay off, and I think this was an instance of that. Mariah tells Nick that maybe it's a good idea if we just give Sharon some space, and the way that she phrased it was so sophisticated too. She was including herself. Like it wasn't a why don't you stop hovering, it was a why don't we stop hovering, give Sharon some space. And it was so it was just a really advanced level technique, the way that she let him think that he was coming to those conclusions. Like he goes, yeah, you're right, you know, we gotta let Sharon be the heroine here. It was just so great the way that was written and phrased, and I liked that scene a lot. Sharon is definitely tired of being stuck inside of her own head, stuck at home, doing internet research on breast cancer, which is essentially the worst thing that you can do. Internet searching about anything that you're worried about will only magnify the problem. And so Sharon wisely cuts herself off from that. She grabs her bag. She goes out to the bar. Thank goodness that she decided to keep it classy and go to the Grand Phoenix Hotel and not to the Empty Glass, because if I would have seen Sharon walk into that dive bar and bump into Billy or something, I would have been so disappointed. But you know, Sharon is someone who has an excuse to sulk. Sharon is someone who actually has a problem. Unlike Billy, who creates his own problems so that he can wallow in them. Okay, I'm tangenting. I will get there. I'm glad that Sharon made other choices. I'm glad that Sharon chose to elevate and not to sink. At the Grand Phoenix, that's when Sharon bumps into Phyllis, and that's where Phyllis is first tipped off to the fact that something serious is going on with Sharon and her health and her condition. I think because Sharon was just so extra Sharon in those scenes. She was so wise and caring and insightful, and it was so off-putting. Phyllis almost couldn't handle it. Phyllis was almost ready to pull the ripcord and like sail out of there. Like, sorry, I gotta go. This is too much for me. Are you trying to do girl talk with me right now? What a fantastic dynamic right there. After all those years of rivalry, just a simple, civil conversation. How about that? Just how about that? Sharon's not looking for a friend, though. Sharon has enough legitimate support in her life from people who she trusts and hasn't had a difficult past with. Sharon's not happy about the fact that Phyllis has caught on to the fact that she is in the middle of a health crisis, and Sharon actually blamed Nick for not being secretive enough with Phyllis. And I think that's really unfair. I don't think it's Nick's fault in any way. Phyllis figured it all out on her own, but now Sharon has told Nick that it's his job to keep Phyllis at bay, kind of keep her off of this scent trail. She don't want Phyllis on her back. And I bet ya that what Nick is going to do in response to that is hire her. I think Nick is going to hire Phyllis to keep an eye on her, keep her close. I mean, that security system at New Hope, the one that Chance is working on, it's not going to install itself. That sounds like a two-person job to me. I cannot believe that Y&R broke up Billy and Victoria so that Billy could spin out of control and fall in love with Amanda. It's been a good wild ride, though. You know what? I gotta give Y&R credit for picking a direction and sticking with it. That's all I wanted them to do. They have given us a story. It is a story that has gotten people talking. I didn't see it coming. I don't necessarily like it. But it's been an eyeball opener. I, on a weekly basis, have been so excited to find out what was going to happen. And I think we have arrived. There's just so much to talk about. There's just so many layers, and it just gets me so up in arms, and that is just so fun to me. Here's the thing that I am realizing this week. Billy says that he doesn't want to be with someone who looks at him like he's a project, like he's someone who needs to be fixed. But Billy is still waiting around to be fixed. Billy wants Amanda to be the one to fix him now. It's just in a different way than Victoria fixed him. And it's in a different way than Phyllis fixed him. Billy is codependent. Whether it be codependent on a partner, or on gambling, or drinking, or obsessing about Delia, and obsessing about Adam. He's codependent. Other people see him as broken because he sees himself as broken. And now he's just waiting for the next person to help him along. The next person he can glom onto. He just wants to be saved in a different way. And I, at this point in the story, have to give some big respect to Amanda. Because early in the week, she had a realization that she was becoming a problem in Billy's relationship. Billy wasn't the only problem in his relationship. She had become a part of it. Their friendship, in quotes, had become a part of it now, too. And she tells Billy she doesn't want any part of that. She feels like she is overstepping on somebody else's marriage. And even if, yes, he and Victoria were not legally married, it was like a marriage. And she didn't want to have any part of blowing that up in any way. Amanda says she doesn't want to do that to Victoria. She doesn't want to do that to Billy. And most importantly, she doesn't want to do that to herself. So Amanda nicely and politely, but firmly, tells Billy that they should not see each other anymore. And Billy looked heartbroken. He at first seemed to accept it, but he did not want it. He looked heartbroken at the thought of losing Amanda. More heartbroken than he was at the thought of losing Victoria. I mean, the very next night after Amanda kind of broke up with him, he was at the bar hoping to run into her. And when she wasn't there, he texted her and he said, "Any chance that you're coming to the bar?" And she responded, "Sorry, no. We just had this conversation. Did you not get the picture? We said goodbye." Well, okay, Amanda didn't say that, but I'm saying it. I think it was implied. It was a goodbye. They had a goodbye. And the very next night, he's trying to ask her to hang out again. It was a clear goodbye. And as soon as that goodbye ended, we saw a series of camera shots implying that someone was photographing Billy and Amanda together at the bar. Turns out it was Victor's private investigator. I thought maybe it was going to be Amanda's ex, this Ripley Turner that we've been hearing so much about and who we know has been cast. But I wonder now if there's any chance that still could be true. Is there any chance that Victor's private investigator is Ripley Turner? That guy that Victor was meeting with? Because when that private investigator handed over Victor those photos of Billy and Amanda together, he said that there was something else that Victor needed to know, and then that scene was never followed up on. So it could just so happen that Ripley Turner has been following Amanda because he's been on assignment. I mean, months and months and months ago, we saw Victor making that phone call that he wanted to have Amanda investigated. So maybe those two are connected. Maybe that guy we saw is Ripley Turner. I don't know. Maybe not. Honestly, if I hadn't known that Ripley had been cast, I might have been inclined to think that the person who was taking those photos or that hired someone to take those photos of Billy and Amanda would have been Victoria. She knows where Billy and Amanda have been meeting. She was hanging on to that receipt from the empty glass. So I was sort of guessing maybe it would have been Victoria having Billy investigated, and I would have thought, ooh, that would have been kind of cool. I think it would have been an even more cool move if Victoria would have shown up at that bar. I wish Victoria would have shown up at the bar while Billy and Amanda were sitting there having drinks. Victoria should have just got all up in those private conversations. Hey, if everything's above board here, mind if I join? Ooh, that would have been bold. That would have been good. No, instead Victoria was at home, drinking her wine, confiding in Nick about the situation with Billy. I really liked those brother-sister scenes. I liked those scenes way better than I've been liking the scenes with Nikki, where I feel like Nikki has had way too mild of a reaction about all of this. I mean, Victoria told Nikki that Billy has been meeting secretly with Amanda and that Billy says they're just friends. And Nikki's response was, oh, well, I guess you only have two options. You either have to accept it or keep overanalyzing it. And I was thinking, hey, what about the third option? What about the option where Victoria tells Billy that he is not meeting her needs? What about the option where Victoria tells Billy that she needs more out of a relationship than he can provide? What about the option where Victoria walks out on him? But actually, the opposite happened. And honestly, I'm just glad that Billy finally made the decision for her. I have spent week after week, feeling like I can easily stand in Victoria's shoes. I understand where she's coming from. But despite all of the voiceovers, despite anything that Billy has said to his therapist or to Amanda, I still struggle to understand where Billy is coming from. I struggle to understand what the problem is. The problem is there's no problem? Well, okay then. I don't want to be dismissive of Billy's feelings. I don't want to be dismissive of his position. But if Billy would rather hang out at the Empty Glass Bar and Lounge playing cards with a table of losers, then fine. To each his own. It's your life. Just stop making it out to be that Victoria is the problem. Just cut her loose then and go on about your business, your life, however you need to lead it. Fine. Just don't drag anybody else down. So that's what he did. Good. Ultimately, good decision then. Billy went home. And he packed a bag. And he walked out. He walked out to the hotel where he is now staying. He walked out to the bar where he can now sit for hours unashamed, drinking and gambling and getting in to brawls just so that he can feel something other than the pain of having just walked out on his family. Really? Billy? Is that why you got into that bar fight? Is that why you got into that bar fight? To stop yourself from feeling the pain? Or did you get into that bar fight so that you would be doing something that might make you need a lawyer? A certain lawyer? Billy didn't care if he got kicked out of that bar forever. Because he doesn't really want to be there if Amanda's not there. He got into that fight so that he could call her to come to his rescue, to save him, to fix something for him. So now she's going to be working on his case, and now he has a reason to stay in contact with her. And it doesn't hurt that now they're living at the same hotel. Boy, that makes things a whole lot easier, especially now that pesky Victoria is out of the way. Victoria has got to be gobsmacked over this whole thing. Right as she is starting to get happy with her life, she has her dream family, she has her dream career. She's finally working the job that she has wanted to have her entire life. She has achieved the goal that she's been waiting to achieve her entire life. And now Billy decides that he's unhappy. Isn't that interesting? That as soon as she is actually happy, especially after the trauma that she went through last year with JT and the year before, now Billy decides that he's not happy. Right at the point when she is. Victoria takes the kids to the ranch to stay overnight. And again, you know, I feel like Nikki's reaction to all of this should have been bigger. I would like to have seen Nikki hunt Billy down and go all mama bear on him. It feels like Nikki is reading way too many self-help books or something lately. She needs to just stick to the Tracy Abbott mystery romance novels instead. There is a little too much self-help coming out of her mouth. I wanted some action. And maybe Victor was where the action lied. I mean, this Victor comforting his daughter was very tender and very sweet. But at the same time, I also just wanted to scream at him. Because, I mean, after this long and incredibly difficult day, he forces Victoria to do a round of boxing. I mean, I know it was supposed to be encouraging and helpful and empowering. But I just thought, oh my gosh, give this poor woman a rest. Let her sleep tonight. We can box it out in the morning. Bring out the gloves in the morning, but can I get some sleep, Dad? She looked so weak and so tired. Ugh, and he looked so proud of himself for coming up with it. After the boxing session, she broke down in tears, and Victor held her while she cried, and I felt awful for her. I really did. But I'm also trying very hard to erase the memory of how Victor, while Victoria's crying in his arms, said, "Come to Daddy." It was just too weird, too weird, too weird. I need it to go away. I know it was benign, but "come to Daddy" is just too weird to say when your daughter's in her 40s. No. That didn't happen. Didn't happen. That's been erased from my memory in 3, 2, 1. Ding. I did think that the imagery was great, though. That Victoria was boxing it out with Victor, while at the same time, Billy was standing in his hotel room on the opposite end of town with a black eye and a bloody lip. Maybe Victoria will think that she somehow telekinetically made that happen. Oh. What is Victoria gonna say when she sees Billy next? And better yet, what are they gonna tell the kids when they see Billy next? All bruised up and bloody. What's Victoria gonna say to their children? Don't worry, kids! Daddy feels alive now! I gotta admit, it's been kind of nice having Adam and Chelsea on the back burner for a couple of weeks. I got a little burnt out on them both, so it was nice just seeing them have kind of a simple date at society this week. Chelsea, again, looking beautiful in red. Oh, and her face was a little red, too, when Nick walked in to order some takeout. Well, they're trying to have a romantic evening. I had to appreciate, though, how Chelsea approached Nick. She tried to diffuse some of the awkwardness by just having a friendly conversation with him. I'm not sure if it worked, though. Still very awkward. Nick may still have tender feelings for Chelsea, but there is no love lost between Nick and Adam. Adam walks into the conversation, and Nick even implies that maybe it wouldn't be such a bad idea if Adam and Chelsea go move out of town. Gee, why don't you move out of town, Nick? Actually, it was Adam's suggestion first that maybe they should move out of town. He started talking to Chelsea at dinner about leaving Genoa City and moving to Paris on a whim. Like now. Like, go pack your bags, let's go. Yeah, there was then, she was considering it. And then we see Adam making a phone call, which Chelsea overhears. And Adam is giving someone an update on the mystery woman again. The mystery woman. Apparently, she is back on the map, but she is asking questions. Hey, I got some questions. When are we finally going to make some progress on this? Last week, Phyllis was having a conversation with Summer right before she went off to her San Francisco trip with Kyle. And Phyllis was warning Summer about not being Kyle's second place choice. And Phyllis said to Summer, even the smartest people can be very foolish when it comes to love. Very, very true. And that was our quote from last week. I think Phyllis probably knows that lesson very well. Even the smartest people can be very foolish when it comes to love. And when Summer and Phyllis were having that follow-up conversation this week at the coffee house where Summer was declaring her intentions to fight for Kyle, Phyllis didn't like it at all, but she did have a moment of pulling herself together and realizing that, you know, when I was your age, there is nothing that anyone could have said that would have stopped me from going after what I wanted. So this is going to be your decision. Be it foolish or not, it is your decision to make. Well, we had less winners. We didn't have 28 winners this week. We had 11. So congratulations, Anna, Henry, Heather, TB84, Cherie, Keisha, Nancy, Anne-E, A-N-N with a capital E, Chris, Ambreen, and Diana. You guys all guessed that it was Phyllis. Here's a new quote for ya. You hear what curiosity did to the cat. I have a feeling that one's going to be tough. You hear what curiosity did to the cat. Well, I don't know. If you think you know who said it, go to yrchat.com to leave me your guess. And if you get it right, then I will give you your shout out on next week's Y&R Chat. Ambrini says, I had an idea for the weekly quote. Here it is. You've got great follicles. If you would have given me that quote and not given me the answer, I never would have known it. You've got great follicles. Apparently, Ambrini says this was said by Summer to Theo on Tuesday's episode after the business trip. I thought it was funny. Why didn't I hear that? Or maybe I did and it just went right over my head. You've got great follicles. I can't believe Summer was complimenting Theo. Their interactions have been so tense lately. But, oh, I love that you're giving me ideas for quotes. Please keep them coming. I have to make sure I hear it and I have to double extra major confirm that I get it right if I'm going to blast it out to everybody. But keep them coming. I didn't see that message till later in the week or that would have been a great one because it would have stumped me. Oh, well, let's see here. Oh, well, Jamie says, did you see how fabulous Michelle Stafford looked in her first big new intro since coming back? Yes, I sure did. Jamie also notes that there was still plenty of Mariah in the opening credits, of course. Yeah, I noticed that too. Y&R moved the opening credits around while they were adding Phyllis and Ray, but I did notice that Mariah was still in that one, but she was not at the end. Usually Mariah is the very last credit that you see before it goes to the woman moving in the dress and the Y&R logo. But Mariah she was bumped inward a little bit on those credits, but she's still there. She's still gonna be in every single one. They're just gonna pop people into the mid part, I guess, and shuffle them around. Well, Ellen Ellen M is going to give us some more TV shows where we have Y&R stars appearing in other roles. Ellen M says, about a month ago, she was watching Kojak reruns, then on Cozy TV, which is Antenna TV, and Jess Walton was on. It was an episode called Die Before They Wake, 1974. She was very natural and did a nice job in the role. Very pretty, but different from current appearances because time marches on for all of us. And then Ellen says, about a week ago, I also caught a glimpse of Michelle Stafford in Double Jeopardy, 1999, with Ashley Judd. Couldn't watch it there on the movie channel on Antenna TV because my reception is limited by my location, time of day, Earth's rotation, or other factors. But both of those are available to view through other sources. Ooh, yes. Okay, so Kojak, Die Before They Wake, 1974, Jess Walton. I bet she was really pretty and soft and, yeah, probably just a very different type of role because Jill is so brash now at this point in her life and in her career. And I think maybe that's sort of more like how Jill was in the beginning. I'm sure Gary will weigh in on this. More about how Jill was in the beginning when she first was cast onto Y&R. Maybe the Brenda Dixon role. I think Jill used to be a little more soft, and then she became a little bit more brash. But I at least want to see some screen caps on that with Jess Walton in 1974. And I do actually remember that Michelle Stafford was in Double Jeopardy in 1999. I have seen that movie, but it's been forever. But I remember feeling at the time like, ooh, Michelle Stafford's in a big new movie because Ashley Judd was very popular at the time. So yeah. I'm loving these vintage polls. I like it when we see our stars in current shows, but I think I like these vintage polls even more. And speaking of vintage, Justin says, I love the idea of Newman Enterprises' 50th anniversary because it's an excellent way to celebrate Eric Braden's 40th anniversary on The Young and the Restless. Oh, wow, is that right? Is it his 40th anniversary on Y&R? Wow! Well, maybe that's what it's all about then. That is what this anniversary is really going to be all about. Oh, that's fabulous. So it's kind of like in the way that Y&R did the anniversary show for Nikki last year, where she was writing the letter to her grandchildren from prison, which I saw last week as a rerun. But this must be Victor's version of that. Oh, I can't wait. That means there's going to be a ton of flashbacks. We better be in that office and we better be in that Newman Enterprises set. That is all I'm going to say about that. It's going to be so good. I'm excited. Oh, Shakona says, I was in tears when Victoria cried in her dad's arms. She's been through so much, and she just finally let it out. Yeah, I know. I was making fun of that scene a little bit, but it was very tender. It was very meaningful. And, Victor didn't really have as much of a chance to be there for Victoria when everything went down with JT. I think their relationship was pretty estranged at that point. But Victor is having an opportunity to be there for his daughter now, and that is very important, and it is very moving. T. Nicole says, I admire the relationship that Victoria has with her mom. Nikki is just such a support and a comfort for Victoria and has this softness about her. It's funny when you think about how much Nikki will hold back any harsh comments about Billy when he screws up. But if this is the same issue as it was between Nick and Sharon, Nikki would not be holding back her comments about Sharon. Oh, okay, that's true. Yeah, I know probably the smarter move for a mom to make would be to withhold the harsh comments about the potentially lying, cheating husband. I guess maybe just because it's a soap, I'm expecting more that Nikki would go by the way of, as you mentioned, like getting all up in it. Because Nikki's holding back so much when it comes to Victoria and Billy. But yeah, if it was one of Nick's relationships or if it was certainly Sharon, then Nikki would be all up in it. Shakona responds to that comment saying, well, Sharon did sleep with Victor, Nick, Dylan, and everyone Nikki holds dearly. So can we really blame Nikki for despising Sharon? All right, fair point there. Well, Keisha says, I wasn't expecting Phyllis to react the way she did about seeing Sharon's bandage. The scenes with Sharon and Phyllis had me dying for more. Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Phyllis's mother have cancer or some kind of health crisis? It was something. It was like it was something that was familiar to her. We need to know what made Phyllis respond in that way. I want to know about the 50 Shades of Phyllis. Oh, Keisha, you're hitting on something that I never would have thought of. Phyllis's reaction was not just limited to what's going on with Sharon. Maybe there's something more there. Maybe she is connecting it into some kind of personal experience. And yes, we really, I don't know that we know all that much about Phyllis's mom. I don't remember her saying that her mom had died of cancer, but there is something more there. And I'm so glad you said that, because that really is going to help us round out that reaction of Phyllis's. And yeah, I can't wait to find out what that was, what the more is to that story. Oh, Sandra says Cameron Grimes has been confirmed to reprise the role of Cassie. Cassie is going to be visiting Sharon during her cancer storyline. Oh, this is going to be very sad, right? Maybe it'll be happy. I hope that's not bad news for Sharon. Under what circumstance would she be seeing Cassie? Might it be during the surgery? Oh my. It can't be that much of a stretch for Cameron Grimes to play Cassie versus Mariah. She just has to be sweet. She has to come back and maybe be a little sweeter, a little innocenter. Michelle says, it's interesting how Mariah and Abby had such a cozy chat and a night of club dancing when just a few years ago, Mariah locked Abby up in a room where she couldn't get out. It was a condo under construction, I think it was. Wasn't Mariah also the mysterious stalker who was following Tyler and Abby around? I am so glad that you brought this up, because I kept thinking, I don't know what the connection between Mariah and Abby is. And now here you're saying they had a little bit of a rivalry. I do remember that Mariah was brought back with that storyline surrounding Tyler. Tyler was her ex, who she was kind of obsessed with. I don't remember him being with Abby. But you're probably right. And yeah, I could see that happening, because Mariah was definitely being shady around Tyler. So maybe Abby was dating Tyler and Mariah didn't like it. And so she locked Abby in a room or something to keep them apart. That sounds about right. Good pull. Well, let's talk about Abby and Chance, her new boyfriend. Abby has moved on from those Tyler days. And also Phyllis, of course. Kamna says, I think that Chance and Phyllis are fun and they have amazing chemistry, but it's not sweet like Abby and Chance. So my wish is for Chillis to hook up and then just become friends or business partners. Is that too much to ask for? Well, you know what? Phyllis is going to need a job eventually. That's why I'm saying I think she is going to start working with Chance. They've already laid the groundwork for that. But as far as the relationship goes, I wonder if Phyllis will actually give up. She told Abby that she's out of the fight. She's fine having, she's backing away from the Chance thing altogether, which is quite a coincidence considering he picked Abby. But Phyllis will be able to save face by saying, oh yeah, I let it go. Even though she was texting him right before she found out about Sharon. She was saying, that was just a preview. I'm going to give you more. But now Phyllis is going to act like she never wanted Chance anyway. But, I mean, I don't know. Maybe they will start working together, and it's possible that Y&R might bring that rivalry back up over Chance. I don't know. But business partners, definitely. Even if the romance is off the table, I think business partners is going to happen. Ellen says, Phyllis should be pursued by a man who finds her absolutely fascinating and irresistible. She shouldn't be begging for attention from Chance. They need to cast a dashing, new, intriguing man of means who sweeps Phyllis off her feet. I like that idea. A new, dashing, intriguing man of means. Yes, please. Sign me up for that. Laura makes a good point by saying, what does Phyllis really want? You know, that's more interesting than speculating about what Abby wants. We already know that Abby wants a boyfriend. Poor Abby. But what does Phyllis want? I like tagging up on this comment from Ellen that it is as if she is begging for Chance's attention. Is it because she really wants it? Or is she just trying to use it as a means to an end? I think Laura brings up a really good point that Phyllis's ultimate desire, her ultimate motivation in all of this is a little bit unclear. It seemed to me a couple weeks ago that Phyllis wanted Nick. And now I'm not sure. I don't know if she just wanted to seduce Chance or if she just wants the attention. But yeah, I think a new man is needed in the mix, isn't it? Oh, Superplex, this is great. Superplex says, how much does The Young and the Restless time correspond to real time? In Friday's episode, I think this is last Friday, Chance had agreed to go on a date with Phyllis for the following day. Phyllis had originally planned the date for 7 o'clock, and Chance responded, make it 8. On the Monday episode, we saw Phyllis getting all excited over her date that was supposed to commence later in that afternoon. Then on Tuesday, Phyllis is upset because she now has no water for her shower for her date, and that's presumably the date is scheduled to start that evening. So now on Wednesday, Phyllis is all prim and dolled up, and the evening has fallen, but they didn't get the date. So according to this series of events, it's taken 4 days just to get to 8 o'clock the following day. You nailed that, Superplex, because I could not put my finger on why it just seemed like we were stretched so hard on actually getting to this date. I think Y&R wanted to play up the hijinks on getting there, absolutely, but it did take 4 days, 4 solid days to get to the following evening. That date, it was the longest dragged out pre-date that I've ever seen in history. Yeah, that was a little slow. A little. Oh, well, let's see here. Oh, we got to talk about Kyle and Summer. T. Nicole says, I was hoping it would not be the typical soap, something happens on the business trip plot. I thought it would be more interesting if Theo kissed Lola rather than Kyle and Summer, than to see how Lola would handle that situation. Also, with Theo kind of dragging Kyle's name through the mud to Lola about how entitled and privileged Kyle is really bothered me. Theo, you're putting down Lola's husband. What an awkward situation to put her in. Also, if Kyle is so entitled in Theo's eyes, then why did Theo want Kyle partying with him so badly when he came back to Genoa City? He constantly wanted Kyle to hang out and not stay home with Lola. Well, T. Nicole, I really think you're right that it probably would have been a little bit more interesting to have put Lola and Theo in the hot seat rather than Kyle and Summer, because there's really no question about whether or not there are feelings between Summer and Kyle. That was probably only a matter of time. The question for me was more so about what's the nature of Theo and Lola's relationship, and I feel you really nailed it when you said it would have been interesting to see how Lola would have handled that situation. Because a lot of this is resting on Lola. She's had a lot of non-reaction to Theo. She's given him a lot of leeway. And we have mostly just been speculating about why that is. And maybe she has feelings for him, maybe she doesn't. But it hasn't been expressed. So maybe Y&R is just saving that for later? Ambreen says, I'm disappointed in Kyle for letting Summer kiss him, and he kissed back. It's like Nate said, you can choose to control yourself. The people on this show are so weak. Amanda and Nate have both said they wouldn't have affairs with people. So we shall see. Yeah, I think, well, I mean, Victoria's out of the way when it comes to Amanda. So that might just end up happening. And it seems pretty clear to me that that's what Billy wants. As far as the Nate and Elena situation, and I feel like Nate, he really sure presents himself as being above the whole affair thing. So I could definitely see him not, wanting to get involved with Elena. But yeah. Summer and Kyle definitely chose what they did, and now they're going to have the consequences. Hey, Superplex says, Mariah should mind her own business. She has overstepped her boundaries in this affair. That is true. That is true. And why does Mariah always go to Theo about it? She's told Summer last week or the week before that she was going to talk to Kyle about this whole thing, and she doesn't. She talks to Theo. She kind of harangues Theo about it, and Theo wasn't the problem. Well, speaking of affairs, Gary says, look at that girl filling Mariah's head with groupie horror stories from the road. Wow. Just because that girl is loose doesn't mean that Tessa is. Yeah, how about that? Mariah's face when Lindsay started going on and on about when she was a roadie and, all the hookups she had. That lifestyle. Like, she approached Mariah with this air of, what's your problem, hun? I'ma fix it. And all she did was make it worse. Really, really feeding into Mariah's worst fears there. Or was that intentional? Any chance that was intentional? I don't know. Well, Gary also jokes, you women just don't seem to be able to keep your men happy. Billy finds himself bored with Victoria, and now Kyle wonders if he didn't make the mistake of his life hooking up with Lola. What's the matter with you? I know this is a joke, and it perfectly speaks to my point. There is nothing wrong in either of these relationships. It seems to just be a matter of attraction and preference. There's no real problems between Kyle and Lola. There's no real problems between Billy and Victoria. Both Victoria and Lola have just been off living their life and working their jobs while these guys are drifting off elsewhere. I don't know if there's anything these women could have done to make these guys happy. I mean, Lola's a little, I feel like Victoria's a little more blameless than Lola. Lola could have put her foot down with Theo way sooner if she knew that it made her husband uncomfortable, and that might have just helped relieve the tension. I don't know that Theo should be worth it. I don't know that Theo's relationship should be worth it to Lola if it makes Kyle uncomfortable. I don't know that I would have made the same choices as Lola, but I know that I would have made the same choices as Victoria. I don't want to be dismissive of anything that Billy is feeling, but man, I just have a hard time seeing things from his point of view. I get Victoria. I don't get Billy. Well, Time Pass also seems to not get Billy. Time Pass says, so what exactly is Billy asking of Victoria? Letting him not have a job? Being at the bar every day? Confiding in another woman until what? He's a gambler. He put her in danger and she forgave him. Isn't that accepting him? He decided to quit his job to search for the next step, and she supported him. He wants her to accept him getting out of any family time whenever he feels like it. Billy's a mess. He doesn't know what he really wants, and it has nothing to do with Victoria or Amanda. Oh, that is so good that it has nothing to do with Victoria or Amanda. And I think the other point you hit is that Victoria has been accepting of him. I don't interpret anything that she's done as being unaccepting. I think she knows that he has an addictive personality. He has very real problems. He has some very real problems personally with his addictions and some of his other choices, his murderous choices and whatnot. I mean, I feel that Victoria's decisions and anything she's done has been out of loving him and accepting him. She's with him, as you say, even though all of those things had happened in his past. And I think that Victoria was giving him space. She was supporting all of the things that he wanted to do. And that's why I just don't see the problem as being Victoria. You're right. The problem just is Billy. It's just Billy. Diana says, Billy had the life that most people would die for. A beautiful wife, 2 adorable, healthy children, a high-paying job. It looks like he doesn't want to live the cookie-cutter lifestyle. He feels sorry for himself, like he is so hard done by. I can't relate to him at all. His lifestyle is so lame and pathetic. He chose to spend Christmas Eve at home alone playing solitaire. Most of the New Year's Eve, he was in a dingy bar with Amanda. He wasn't happy about the ski trip with his family to Telluride. What exactly does Billy want? I never hear Victoria on his back like he's claiming. I really hope Billy finds some peace and what he really wants in life soon. Yeah, I couldn't have said it better. And here's Leslie with a tag up. Billy's problem has become a rich people's problem. Most of us don't have the luxury of worrying about finding ourselves. We trudge through and hopefully feel fortunate to feel happy for what you have, as I do. Losing a child does give him a right to feel sorry for yourself, but now that the writers have realized that the viewers were tired of that in the way that it was being portrayed, they should not have only changed his reasoning for self-pity, but they should have found something new. Yeah. That's what it is, because everything with the Delia and the loss of the child, it's just like, man, we've been through it. I mean, it isn't new, you know, that it's just, if Billy wants more, that's okay. It's just, I couldn't find the reason. I couldn't find the excuse, and that made it frustrating for me. But, you know, it's also very real in a lot of ways. I mean, some people are like this. This is the thing. I just have no tolerance for this personality type, and so I can't help but just swing over to Victoria's side. But yes, this is real. There are people who are like this, who don't really fully know what they want. They just sort of have a vague feeling of dissatisfaction, and so they sort of float from thing to thing to try to find it, and maybe something works for a while, and it's sort of addiction, isn't it? Maybe something fills that, you know, gives you that high for a while, and then it stops working, and then you move on to the next thing, and maybe Billy's just moving on to his next thing. Well, Sherrod, and this is great, giving us another perspective, says, the man just needs someone to understand him. And at this point, Victoria is no longer choosing or is willing to listen and really hear him when he says that he does not need fixing. Everyone just wants to be accepted for who and what they are. Well, Ellen replies, sure, accept me for the psychotic, gum-chewing murderer I am. Maybe not this week, nah. This week, I'm the lying dive bar guy. What? What's wrong with that? Perfectly normal for your partner to go from attempted murderer to Jabot's CEO to unemployed dive bar emotional affair guy all in 1 year. Love it. Sign me up. Man of the year. Women expect way too much these days. And Sherrod responds, well, it means that accept me for who I am, warts and all. That saying goes, love me or leave me, or I leave you. I'm Team Billy. Well, I do want to have more members of Team Billy. This is a very interesting dialogue because I hear both of these sides. I need more Team Billy people to speak out because that would help me. Yeah, I know we want somebody to understand him. I just didn't ever feel like Victoria wasn't presenting that. I guess I kept feeling like he was choosing to not let her be the person to lean on. By the time he actually started leaning on her, so much time had passed and so much other stuff had happened. He chose initially to keep his feelings from her, and I think that just widened the gap, and then it just became too much to step over. I just, and when I say there's not really any problem here, it's just because, it feels like it's something that could have been so easily worked through and so easily communicated through in the beginning, and it was his choice to not communicate with her. It was his choice to keep her in the dark because he feared what her reaction would be, and as she said, hey, that's you judging me, and you say you don't want to be judged, but that's you judging me. Well, keep leaving these insightful comments about Billy, because Daisy says, not realizing why, I think that Billy talked to Amanda because she's a stranger, and he has no history with her. But Victoria has a history with him, and even though she initially wanted to work things out, Billy may unknowingly not want to leave Victoria, not because he doesn't love her, but because she represents the painful past that he's been trying to run from. I wonder if the guilt in losing his daughter, not from someone else's actions, but because of his own, deep inside, Billy may blame himself for Delia's death. And after seeing Adam and that pain that pain became so great and so unmanageable that the only choice Billy unknowingly has is to leave the past behind. And that even though he loves her, the past also includes Victoria. Oh, that's good. That really what Billy is unable to cope with is the past, and Victoria represents part of that past. Yeah, the human psyche, there are just some very, very dark parts of it, and I guess they don't always make sense. Now, that's the truth. Not everything that everyone always does makes sense or is logical to different personality types. So, ooh, you guys keep bringing it. We got to get all sides here. That is the goal with Y&R Chat and with these comments. Give me a nice rounded view of these stories, because it would just not be anywhere near as fun if it was just me giving you my perspective. So thank you for keeping it varied and keep it coming. Yes, I did hear from some new people this week, so that is really nice too. It always makes me happy to see new people jumping in. Oh, well, okay, a little bit of Y&R Chat news here. Y&R Chat is going to be preempted a little bit next Sunday. Hopefully everybody gets this message. Life is happening to me a little bit next Sunday, so I got some other stuff I got to do, and it's gonna force me to have to do Y&R Chat a little bit later than I normally would. I'm not quite sure if you'll notice anything different other than maybe it being published a couple hours late. So don't freak out if you don't hear from me next Sunday right on the dot as you usually do. I will put something together. My goal will be to put full Y&R Chat together, and I think I'll be able to. It just might be a couple of hours late, so it might be pushing into Sunday night. But I'll be here. Unless somebody runs me down on the side of the road or something. My intent is to be here. Okay, well, hey, we had 5 full episodes, or I did anyway. I know some of you guys are going crazy having to deal with that CBS.com awful player, but not me. I got 5 episodes airing from 11 to 12 as if nothing was going on. I don't even know if anything was going on. It was bliss. Right back to normal. But again, if you missed any episodes, you can always go to CBS.com. Just don't try to mess around with the player. You just got to press play and then be prepared to just not touch anything, and you'll be fine. You got to get those episodes in. And you got to get your Y&R Chat in. I always love talking with you guys. I hope that you go to yrchat.com to leave your comments. Anybody can just go ahead and leave a comment there. It's always fun to see what people are saying and voting in the polls. And I'll come back next week and read out those results. We are calling Michelle Stafford into our office. I'm really excited to see what the majority of Y&R chatters are going to have to say to her. I am scared of her. That is one woman that I would not want to run into in a dark alley. So I will not be taking these results and presenting them to Michelle Stafford. I can assure you of that. I think I would be too intimidated to even be in a room with her. Oh. But thank you so much for sharing this room with me. I hope everybody has a really good week, and I will see you a little bit late next Sunday. Okay, you guys, I love ya. Bye.